Before we jump into all the stuff we want to talk about, I do want to one big shout out. Travis Bazzana today for the Lake County Captains hit his first not only home run but grand slam. He was 2 for 4 with 2 walks and also his first stolen base. 3 runs and 4 RBIs. So crushing it down there over here at Lake County, and he's looking every bit as that of the first round pick as we hoped he would.
It's funny that you mentioned that because
Rose. Bazzana hammers it deep right field. This ball is history. Home run number 1 for draft pick number 1. And it's a grand slam.
courtesy of the Lake County Captains MLB stream, Travis Bazzana's first of many career home runs, a grand slam. And he's off to a great start after a 0-for-3 debut. He's 4 for his last 8. So he's shook off the opening jitters, and he's kicking some ass now.
The Bazzmanian Devil, as they call him. I'm serious. That's what they call him. That's a great nickname.
I like it.
Yeah. I couldn't get Gavin the Great started when Gavin Williams was pitching down there.
That would have been good.
Gavin the Great is a great nickname too.
I'm willing to bet he would like that.
That was he did like it, as a matter of fact. It's just, couldn't he wasn't there long enough for me to get to catch on. Yeah, I wasn't there long enough for it to catch on, or he wasn't there long enough for it to catch on. But I mean, that is what you want to see out of your the number 1 pick, especially he's starting high A. I would not be surprised to see him probably finish the year in Double A. If I'm being a little bold, maybe even higher. You never know. It just depends on the run he goes on. But he is looking every bit of that number 1 pick that we hoped, and hopefully he keeps it up, because I think the sky's the limit for him.
I want to see him at second base next season, opening day.
What do you want to see him as?
Shortstop.
I like
Don't
it.
ask where you want. Don't ask where you want me to see Rokio.
No, because I think we both want to see him in the same place.
Hey, he had a great off season. Let's just say that.
We all had a great off season.
Yeah.
So the Guardians Allen though.
Oh yeah, well,
I want to talk shit, but I went to the 85 mile an hour batting cages, was rocking the ball, so I don't want to hear any garbage.
So this show had a chance to be nuclear, but the Guardians redeemed themselves. Made a couple moves, getting Lane Thomas from the Washington Nationals, and then Alex Cobb from the San Francisco Giants. We all know Thomas kills left-handed pitching at 28 home runs last year for the Nationals. According to Vote, he's going to be an everyday player. Cobb was an all-star last year, 7-7 with a 3.87 ERA, almost pitched a no-hitter. Had the off-season hip surgery. He was just about to come back with the Giants. He just made his last rehab start. It sounds like they're going to make him have him make one rehab start, probably with Columbus, and then join the rotation along with Matthew Boyd. So we get some reinforcements in that rotation coming up. What are your guys' thoughts on the moves yesterday and the day before?
I mean, with Cobb, it's great to have him, I guess. I mean, because we need another starting pitcher, we need somebody who can go hopefully 5 innings. But also with him having the chemistry, and I've actually played with Stephen Vogt in the Rays organization. That was I didn't know that till today. That was some pretty good information that they have that bond and that trust. So for Cobb to actually have a postseason win in Progressive Field as well, when he started the wild card game against the then Indians and Danny Salazar, he pissed us all off that night with that victory, and hopefully he can redeem himself and get some victories for the Guardians and in that same progressive field. So I guess it's exciting, but if you look at the trade deadline as a whole, though, I don't think any of us, I think we can agree that any of us thought that there was any starting pitcher that was just a must have out there. I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. It felt like it was a bunch, maybe a threes and fours and five starters, which, hey, for our issues, we will take pretty much anything, which that's what this trade really ended up being for Cobb. What's your guys' thoughts on that? Because there's potential there for this to be a real nice move. And then there's potential just that he can't pitch, physically can't pitch.
Well, what do you consider Flattery?
He was the only one, in my opinion, that was the top tier.
Yeah.
And then
right.
Is he a 2-3? Somewhere in there?
He's a solid 2.
He's like he's a solid 2.
But then I heard reports that there were some things with his health that came back where I don't know, was it the Dodgers maybe? Who was concerned
Yankees.
with that? Was it it was the Yankees, that's right. So I don't know.
I mean, he's pitching great this year. So I don't know. I don't know I didn't hear anything about the health. I mean, where did he end up going? He ended up going to LA, right?
LA.
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that.
The rich get richer, but that's, I think the one thing you do have to look at when you're and you have to be mindful, because from what I understand, and I know I'm not the only one who has heard this, is that pretty much most trades and the I was supposed to say Cavs, the Guardians were trying to be active, but most teams in any bigger trade wanted to chase DeLauder, and the Guardians are just he's about as untouchable as they come. So I think if that was even a conversation, DeLauder is probably involved, and the answer was absolutely not. And with what he's been doing since coming back, I obviously it's not someone you're going to trade, but Flattery would have been a nice pick, because if his health is good, like Kevin said, he's a solid number 2. That would have been a really good piece to add to the rotation. But Alex Cobb, that is a very, in my opinion, it's a low risk pickup that makes the front office look like they tried. Like if he ends up coming out and pitching great, then it's going to look phenomenal on the front office. If he comes out and doesn't do anything or doesn't even pitch, it's like, well, we didn't really give up anything for him. So, he's 36 years old. It's it's not like we're not getting a 20 something year old, like a number 2 type pitcher, 1 or 2 type pitcher. So I think that it's low risk, high reward. If he pitches good, the front office looks phenomenal. If he doesn't pitch at all or pitches like garbage, it was like, okay, well, we didn't give up anything for him, and we were just trying to improve, so it doesn't look that terrible on the front office. So that's where I found the pitching. As far as Lane Thomas, really like that move. He's hitting, he's 250, hitting about 250 this year. He's got 26 stolen bases, 8 home runs, 40 RBIs. He's solid across the board. The only thing that's my concern is I really want to see John Kenzie Noel get more everyday at bats, because I think that he just has something. He's got that power, but he needs, and I followed him, when I covered the captains, and every single, from the captains to Akron to Columbus, he follows the same pattern. He comes up, he starts slow until he starts recognizing the pitching, and then he just hits bombs. That's what he does. He starts slow, and then he gets really hot, and so I would like to see him get more at bats, but I think that Thomas will probably, he's probably going to be right field. And I think that's probably where you're going to see, I think you're going to see Noel take less at bats there. So hopefully there's maybe they'll switch Noel to DH because I think he needs the swings. But as far as Thomas, I'd like to pick up. Hopefully he can like Kevin said, he smashes lefties. Had 28 home runs last year. He's already got a ton of stolen bases this year, and 8 home runs, 40 RBIs is nothing to scoff at. 40 RBIs is what, like third on the team, third or fourth?
Yeah,
I'm not, yeah, right around there. So solid pickup. I like it a lot, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Derek, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I know they mentioned something about the coaches working with Thomas as a center fielder, trying to open up right field for Noel to still get those at bats. He definitely has the speed, as you mentioned, Joey. He's a speed demon on the base paths. We saw it yesterday. He is batting second. First couple at bats, couple strikeouts, but then he gets on base. Jose knocks him in. That's what you need out of your 2-hole hitter. And he looks the part. And he was someone that we brought up last year on Guardians of the CLE when we were kind of tossing some names around of who's a right-handed outfielder that can benefit this team. Didn't work out last year, but it was clear that the front office liked him enough to kind of circle back. Has another year of arbitration after this year. So he's someone that they have control of for next year. And, you re-up with them. And if we're not in the running, you can flip them for a AA prospect or something a year from now. Or if we're where we want to be and stuff, he's a solid option, better than the Miles Straw, Florial, some Laureano, some of these other guys that they've tried to plug in out in the outfield just to try to get something to spark. But he's better than a lot of options. I know some were upset with what they gave up, but in the grand scheme of things, I said a few weeks ago they had to thin the herd, and they traded from their positions of strength. The middle infield, Tenna, was kind of in no man's land, kind of where Arias is right now. We have a lot of those guys that are kind of tweeners between AAA and the bigs, and you can't have that when you're trying to be a playoff team trying to go where they want to go. So trading from that stockpile to get a guy that can perform, and he's putting up those numbers on the Washington Nationals, who are one of the worst teams and probably would be a whole lot worse off if they weren't in the same division as the Marlins. So he didn't have a lot of protection. I know they have CJ Abrams and a few other guys, but he wasn't batting ahead of Jose Ramirez. So he's going to see a lot of pitches. If he can put the bat on the ball, good things are going to happen. And I like that move. As both James and Joey said, with Alex Cobb, he really gave up nothing in the grand scheme. So if you get anything out of him, and the bar right now is Cookie Carrasco. So can he give you what Cookie has given you for this season? And as James, and I don't know if Joey mentioned, but I know James did, he has the postseason experience. He won a game in Cleveland, which it feels a lot more recent than it actually was. But when you start throwing around Danny Salazar, and he's like a ghost of Christmas past at this point. But yeah, I think he's a good, solid veteran for the rotation. And with Bybee and Gavin Williams being your 1-2 right now, they're young. They need that veteran kind of to have there. And I know Bieber's still around, and you hope Boyd and maybe McKenzie can kind of join the rotation here in the next couple weeks. But Alex Cobb gives them that piece. And like they said, it at least shows that the front office was willing to make a move. They weren't just going to sit on their hands like they did last year. I know they moved Rosario and Savali, but that was more, kind of waving the white flag, even though both of those guys weren't part of the long-term plans here. So they flipped Savali for Manzardo, so he's, a top prospect within the organization. But I know I mentioned to you, Kevin, it'll be interesting after this season to see what moves they make this offseason, because the Guardians aren't prone to go out on the open market. So some of these other guys like George Valera or Juan Brito, are they names that come up in trades to try to get a top of the line starter, or, try to boost the outfield a little bit more than they were able to here at this deadline?
Yeah, I agree. And as far as trading DeLauder goes, there's only one guy that was rumored to be traded that I would have given him up for, and that's Taras Skubal from Detroit. He's a 27-year-old lefty who's probably the top Cy Young candidate in the American League, but he ended up not getting traded. So that means I was kind of wondering. Yeah,
smart move.
I was surprised Detroit was even entertaining off for him. But I was, like Derek said, I was in the same mindset, worried because we've seen this so many times in the past that they weren't going to make a move. It was going to be, we got Matthew Boyd. That's like adding, an arm at the deadline, or Josh Naylor's back. That's like adding a bat at the deadline, or, Noel. But so I give them credit. It's not what a lot of people wanted to see, but they filled some needs. Sure, they did give up a decent amount for Thomas. Alex Clemmie is a nice left-handed pitching prospect, number 8 prospect. He has a bright future ahead of him. Tanya was, like you said, blocked, and the chances he's gotten up here, he's looked pretty overmatched at the plate. And then Rafael Ramirez is another in the long line of talented young middle infielders, which, like Derek said, they needed to thin the herd at that position. So, But Thomas definitely fills a position of need. And, they gave up Jacob Bresnahan, who's another young left-handed pitcher for Cobb, not ranked in the top 30, but didn't give up much for him, like you said. And we'll see where it goes, if Cobb's healthy. And by all accounts, they've said in his rehab appearances, he's felt great. So, they just need somebody to eat innings.
Yeah, that's exactly. They need someone who can go five innings. If you can give him 5 innings, that's all you need. The bullpen can take it from there. I do want to say this though, is that just kind of piggybacking a little bit off of what Derek said, but adding to it is I really like Thomas in that second in the 2 hole. I like Juan 1, Thomas 2, because Jimenez has been a second half player for the last 2 years. It just seems like he really picks up the back end of the year. So I like him further back in that, in that 5 hole behind Naylor, 5 or 6, depending on if David Fry can, stay around that 300 mark, and that gives us more speed at the top of the lineup and more speed at, where Jimenez usually goes. So I think that just adds a lot more to that value, is where we can play him, and hopefully he can his bat and everything starts coming around a little bit more than like it was last season.
As far as Thomas goes too, I don't know if we mentioned, Derek, while you were talking, I was trying to look it up, that he's got a pretty good arm out there in the outfield. He's supposed to be near the top in outfield assists. So that's another plus that we gained from him. I know it was mentioned, it was something that was already in my head, but it was something I was watching and kind of referencing before our show. The talk of Brandon Guyer, when we added Brandon Guyer, that right-handed bat that just killed left-handed pitching. So it's just exciting to have another piece like that. It just feels like a Tito move, but I guess maybe since Tito's not around now, that's more a front office thing from the past, where a lot of people go, yeah, it's a Tito guy. Well, it's probably more just it's an organization guy. So, but I think it's going to be a plus, and I hope he has a big moment in the postseason.
And that's a really good analogy too. Is it might he's not a superstar, but it just might be the right piece to finish the puzzle. And that's that I think that's the way you have to look at it. Is they didn't need to go for a giant swing on someone maybe like the Yankees got Jazz Chisholm. That's not. I don't think they had to take a big swing like that because that would have cost a lot more than what we gave up for Thomas. But I think right piece, right time, might be what we need to. And I love how the Guardians get no national media coverage. Like once it's like once every 2 months someone will mention the Guardians, but it's always the Dodgers and the Yankees and Baltimore and and
because they move the needles.
Yeah, Phillies.
Yeah.
So I like staying kind of in the shadows a little bit, even though we're tied with the best record in the majors, and they just got a piece that makes us better.
The one analogy I gave last week, I went on a Boston area show, the Pesky Podcast. Those guys are a good group, and they had a bunch of people on there from that purport and cover the different teams in the American League. And I compared the trade deadline for us to kind of like where you're at Walmart and you're circling the $5 Blu-ray bin, and there's some good movies in there, but you're not going to spend a lot, and that's pretty much what we did. I think we got some bargain discounts because that's what the budget called for. But hopefully, these guys, their movies are going to end well in the postseason.
And I agree with Joey 100%. You got to keep Big Christmas in the lineup, and that's where his versatility. He came up as a third baseman in the minor leagues, but he started playing outfield, started playing first base. So. Vogt put him at first base the other day. So, like you said, maybe he could split first base and DH with Naylor. Although Vogt seems to like to move the DH spot around and put different guys there to kind of give him a break from the field. But yeah, I want to see Noel's bat in there because he's going to strike out a lot. He's a young power hitter, but if he can do what he's doing now, hitting a big bomb every 3, 4, 5 games, it's well worth it. Just to have that threat in there.
Well, and I think you've all watched him, come up through the minors like I have, and it's just that repeated pattern of he comes up, he struggles for the first month and a half, and then before you know it, he has 25 homers, and you're like, what the hell? Where did how many games has this guy been playing? Because it takes him a while, a little bit to adjust, but once he does. He puts that. I mean, he's got the sound. The ball hits the bat, it's gone. And I've heard his first home run. I remember closing my eyes and just hearing it, and that's what you want in the lineup. But he needs to get consistent at bats, and I don't know. I'm hoping that those consistent at bats stay and they don't diminish. With Thomas in the lineup, because. I think that he has the ability to be a 40 home run a year guy. I don't know if I don't think he's gonna hit 300. I think he's gonna be a guy that's gonna hit maybe like 250, but hit 40 homers. He's got that. I mean, he's got that power.
Sign me up.
And I think that he sees more pitching, he's gonna wait on breaking balls, and instead of just going for the fastball, and that's all stuff. He's only 22. I mean, he is a young player with a big future ahead of him, but he's got to get those at bats in. So hopefully we see him, either at first base or DH, splitting time with Naylor. But hopefully he consistently gets those at bats so he can get better, and we could start seeing him do what he does as he gets accustomed to the pitching in the majors, as he's done from single A on through the minors, and just start hitting bombs.
Well, you mentioned the breaking balls, and when he first joined the team in the minors, he was Pedro Cerrado. He would kill the fastball, couldn't hit the breaking ball, and he's really worked hard on hitting the breaking ball, and it's paying off.
Yeah, and I mean, every time you jump up, I mean, the stuff gets nastier and nastier. I mean, the top pitchers in the MLB are not the same type of pitchers that you're seeing in AAA on a daily basis. And AAA is not the same as you see in AA. You know, every step up is quite a jump. And that's why, you know, a lot of times there's that, you know, you have to, a lot of guys need to get accustomed to seeing that kind of stuff. And that's where the repetition, the at-bats day after day after day come from. And Noel, every single time he's moved up, it takes him time because, you know, the breaking balls are, you know, they're a lot nastier than he's seen before. So he just has to sit back on it. And that's exactly what he's going to have to do here. The more he sees, the more he's going to sit back. And he's got I think they say he's got the second fastest bat speed in the majors next to Aaron Judge, which that's crazy if you think about it. So I get more at bats in and sit on those breaking pitches so you could crush them. But that kid's he's got all the ability in the world, and I have no doubt that he's going to be a massive player for the Guardians for a long time.
All right, before we get off the baseball subject, I want to give a big shout out to our new show, Prospects of the Land, with Taven McCullough and Nate Mope. They've had a couple nice interviews last week. They had Ryan Webb from the RubberDucks, left-handed pitching prospect who you're going to see in Cleveland here really soon. Just a great dude. I had a chance to interview him back in 2021. Awesome guy. That was a great interview. And then last night they had 18th round draft pick from this year, Isaac Martinez, who seemed like a really great kid. Another great interview. And Nate and Taven are killing it. You know, they've got great chemistry, and they've got some other big interviews lined up. So, you know, stay tuned for those. Pretty exciting stuff.
Keep it up, guys.
And you can catch that right here on BelieveLand Media across all platforms.